reduction, reuse, treatment, safe disposal, material recovery, and recycling. And it goes without saying, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we are talking of the planet Earth. But please allow me to start by the moon. Despite that, man has never established a permanent residence on the moon. However, the brief passage has generated, as per the Royal Museum of Greenwich, 96 bags of human waste. And another online source lists the various items, which I'm not going to cite here, but those various items which have been left on the moon as waste are estimated that all this sums to about 200,000 kg. And our planet, Mr. Speaker, sir, is becoming a dwelling of waste debris. Due to our unsustainable production and consumption practices. On top of that, the escalated growth rate of the human population, combined with the rapidly growing urbanization and increased living standard, have further triggered the situation in all the four corners of the globe. This is a serious matter, Mr. Speaker, sir, and the prediction for the future is very alarming. In 2020, the waste generated globally amounted to 2 billion tons. And you know, this 2 billion is expected to grow to 3.4 billion tons by the year 2050. Earlier, the Honorable Minister Ramano pointed out that last year, Mauritius, we sent 500,000 tons of waste to landfills, and which is to increase by 30% by the year 2030. The speaker from the other side of the House, Honorable Adil Mia, who intervened just before me, cited some figures which don't tally with mine, but they're not far. Anyway. And in 2010, when we compare the waste of 2020 to 22 to 2010, we see there have been an increase of 17%. 17% in 12 years, and now in the future we're expecting this to grow by 30%. So this is a very alarming situation, and we have to do something on that. It is the responsibility of all of us, as we have borrowed this planet from the future generation. We have to give it back to them. However, Mr. Speaker, there is a good news. In fact, there are two good news. The first one is that we still got time. And secondly, the second good news is that our country has a caring and responsible government. This bill, Mr. Speaker, sir, is actually proposing what is in fact needed. It is a paradigm shift from the depletive, produce, consume, dispose model of the linear economy of the 3 R's, that is the reduce, reuse, recycle, to the 9 R's model, that is refuse, rethink, reduce, reuse, repair, refurbish, remanufacture, repurpose, recycle, recover, and these are the 9 R's of the circular economy, which is more regenerative and restorative approach. Mr. Speaker, sir, in 2015, the United Nations adopted the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, which is also known as the Global Goals. It was, in fact, a universal call, among others, for an action to protect the planet. Mauritius, together with 193 member states, adopted the 2030 Agenda for the Sustainable Development. The United Nations came with 17 SDGs, which are integrated. They reckon that action in one area will affect outcomes in others, and that development must balance social, economic, and environmental sustainability. This regulatory framework, Mr. Speaker, sir, is in fact devising a roadmap to attain the 17 SDGs. It is an action plan to ensure the safe and sound environment. It is coming with measures to establish an inclusive society and nation. As it talks about circular economy and solid waste management is a cross-cutting problem that influences different facets of growth in all the three domains of sustainability, that is environment, economy, and society. One may think that this bill is just about waste. No, it's not only that, Mr. Speaker, sir. It is about meeting the SDGs and thus a stepping stone to end poverty, hunger, diseases, and discriminations. The regulatory framework is what we need, and I say it again, this is what we need, and not the MID, which was a BMW. You know what I mean by the BMW, Mr. Speaker, sir? Big money waste. In a forum held in Berlin on chemicals and sustainability in 2021, Achim Steiner, the UNDP administrator, mentioned, I quote, if we are to build forward better from the COVID-19 pandemic towards a green economy, we must ramp up global efforts to minimize the negative impact of chemicals and waste. Part of the solution lies in circular economy approaches. This will offer new opportunities to decarbonize our economies, end of quote. As a society, we are beginning to understand that we urgently need to reduce our ecological footprint by changing the way we produce and consume goods and resources. This bill, Mr. Speaker, sir, clearly elaborates on how it is going to achieve and bring results, making products reusable through lifespan extension activities along the value chain. And for this to happen, we need a paradigm shift as it entails making manufacturers redesign the production strategies and processes, as well as current business models to produce more durable, repairable, recyclable products. Moreover, raising consumer awareness and engagement is essential to transforming consumption patterns and encouraging behavioral change to increase demand to reuse or reusable as a strong, sustainable consumption, production, and this is what only can bring a key role in achieving a circular economy and meet human needs. Mr. Speaker, sir, the issue of waste management does not only concern the Ministry of Environment. It is a matter of concern for all of us. In Part 2 of the bill, under the Section 4.2b, it is clear that the Department of Waste Management and Resource Recovery, which will be within the Ministry, shall work together and assist the local authorities in implementation of the waste management program. Having laws is a good thing, but much more important is the enforcement, and this bill does provide for that. The same section of the bill at subsection D, Roman letters 2, provides for regulation of private operators in the field of waste management. Mr. Speaker, sir, very often when we talk of waste management, we believe that it just concerns getting rid of it out of our compound, and then we are discharged with our responsibility. This bill, Mr. Speaker, sir, allows the department the power under subsection 4.2p to not accept such waste at landfills that can be reused or recycled. Not only that, Mr. Speaker, sir, there will be a technical acceptance criteria of the public waste management facility that all waste have to pass before being accepted at landfills. Earlier, I mentioned enforcement. So much important is the monitoring as well, Mr. Speaker, sir. So the department shall, within 1 month from the beginning of every financial year, submit to the Minister a report on the projects and activities undertaken by the department in the preceding financial year as per section 4, subsection 4. Many a time, we have heard the opposition alleging that authorities are being set so as to enable the government to appoint our people. And we have to be careful here, Mr. Speaker, sir, because when I listen to Honorable Adil Mia, who just intervened before me, you can see that, again, the opposition, the members of the other side of the House, they are trying to put things out of context. And we have seen, like he mentioned, about the disguised tax and all the things, which is not really true. And coming from a party which is a MMM, you can't expect much better. And now we are talking of the waste management and resources recovery. If you allow me to do an analogy, you can look on this side of the house, you will see that the government has recovered the resources of MMM, and what's left over is only the waste. So this bill provides that the director of the department will be appointed by the Public Service Commission. So the National Waste Management Coordination Committee, as per Part 3 of the bill, provides for the purpose of this act. I see Honorable Ivan Kolandaville is laughing. He is one of the resources, in fact. So the National Waste Management Coordination Committee, as per Part 3 of the bill, provides for the purpose of this act a National Waste Management Coordination Committee which shall promote waste reduction, resource conversion, and material recovery. All this with a view to achieve a circular economy, and this committee will be chaired by the minister. The immediate goal in the post-pandemic era, or when the pandemic is ebbing out, would be to revive economic activity without restoring old trends of environmental deterioration. Mr. Speaker, sir, when we talk of circular economy, we first of all need to know what circular economy means. The circular economy can be defined as a regenerative system in which resource, input, and waste, emission, and energy leakage are minimized by slowing, closing, and narrowing material and energy loops. Incorporating circular economy principles in waste management system can enable the recovery of economic growth. Experts believe that the circular economy system strives to integrate the three pillars of sustainable development: economic, environmental, and social, through a symbiotic approach to recover energy and material from waste, design durable products, and extend the service life of system. Mr. Speaker, sir, Ellen MacArthur stated the following concerning the circular economy, and I quote, "The circular economy reflects a structural change that creates long-term stability, maximizes the usage and circulation of commodities, resources, and nutrients, while providing economic, environmental, and social benefits that help the public and private sectors address both short and long-term objectives of SDGs," end of quote. This regenerative model can bring a balanced integration of economic performance, social inclusiveness, and environmental resilience to the benefit of current and future generations. Mr. Speaker, sir, the experts know better than us. So we need technical know-how for a proper implementation. So a big thanks goes to the Honorable Minister, who has included in this bill provision for a technical advisory committee under the Section 12. The technical committee will have the obligation to provide advice and recommendation on any matter specified by the minister. Now the Part 5, Mr. Speaker, sir, concerning the waste management measures. The sub-part A is about integrated waste management and circularity principles, the objective of which will be to aim at preventing and minimizing the harmful or adverse effects of waste on humans and their well-being. The waste of someone can be the raw material of another, and the Section 16 provides for the minister, by way of regulations, prescribe the criteria for determining the point at which a specified materials and product shall cease to be waste and shall be considered as a product or secondary raw material. Mr. Speaker, sir, every process, every plan, every strategy, and even the policies need to be revisited and updated as the conditions require. This bill, at the Section 16(1)(b), states that the National Solid Waste Management Strategy shall be reviewed every 10 years, and the action plan shall be reviewed every 5 years, or at such other time other minister may determine, and it will be in line with the international conventions. Even if we are an island, Mr. Speaker, sir, we don't operate in isolations. We work together with the international conventions, and this bill is a vivid example of it. This bill is talking of alignment with the circular economy approach, which orients to nature as its role model. In a sense, the concept of the circular economy aims to keep raw materials in a closed loop. In this way, resources are maximally used, the need for new ones is reduced, waste is avoided, and the life cycle of products is increased. In short, the waste of today becomes the raw material of tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill is a laudable one. And I can go on more lengthily, but unfortunately we have to respect the time allocation. Therefore, I would like to conclude by a quote of Bea Johnson, okay, which says, "Refuse what you do not need. Reduce what you do need. Reuse what you consume. Recycle what you cannot refuse, reduce, or reuse, and rot the rest." With these words, Mr. Speaker, sir, I welcome this bill and recommend it on the name of our future generations. Long live Mauritius. Thank you.
Leopold.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, in a time when we are becoming increasingly ecologically conscious and knowing the impact of a dangerous effect of waste on the environment and human health, and as a consequence, as a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are obliged to become smarter with regard to a sustainable ecological approach in the management of waste. Mr. Speaker, sir, the success of the economic development of a country nowadays can be measured by how a country manages its waste. We can no longer hide our waste in landfill. And being a tourist destination country, people from abroad will judge us by the way we dispose our waste. Therefore, to be in pace with the development needs of our country, it is the time. It is high time that we put all the activities and action required together to manage waste from its generation to its final disposal. This includes everything, with monitoring of everything, from its manufacture, from its collection, transport, treatment, and its disposal. And in addition to that, changes in policy by legal and regulatory framework. With the rapid economic growth and our change in the consumption pattern, the use of more and more single-use, disposable packaging with its high production. With such trend, Mr. Speaker, sir, the waste management system are more and more lacking effectiveness. We are smarter and more conscious nowadays. We know the consequences of excessive usage of single-use plastic bags and where microplastics end. In fact, it never ends. Non-degradable, toxic, entering food chains and drinking water, harming both animals and human health. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, the first step of waste management is to stop littering. We need further action to stop littering. I welcome the introduction of this bill tonight because it is an indication that government, by participatory approach, are switching altogether towards strong commitment to the sustainable management of waste and resources, with the goals of increasing the life cycle of materials to reduce the volume of waste at a given time, facilitating the reuse of materials and waste. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm not going to repeat what I've already said by the Honourable Minister from linear to circular economy. He has spoke lengthily about the sustainability of circular economy, waste to profit. All that this bill is reminding us, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that enough is enough. Throwaway economies is something of the past. Disposable society is simply not sustainable. We need to change the way we run our economy. With the expansion and the emergence of our economy and the increase in world population, the trend in pattern of prices of raw material are increasing. Global food prices keep on increasing. Unless we rethink the way we run our economy, the cost of living will continue to rise. And this bill is bringing good news in regard to what I've just mentioned, as it is bringing support to stimulate our economy, creating jobs, values natural capital, and resilience to the rising prices of global resources. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the last 10 years in Rodrigues, we have taken courageous actions to reduce and ban the use of plastic bags in view of making Rodrigues an ecological island. And this bill will help in achieving the objective of the Rodriguan people in establishing a sustainable approach in the preservation of our fragile ecosystem. It is a national strategy for the Republic of Mauritius. Therefore, this legal framework will further help standardize our approach on recycling, separation of food waste, among so many innovative incentives. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, we need to move carefully to such transition that this bill is bringing. To make it work, we have to make due consideration through education and research to prepare consumers in terms of disruption in convenience. This law must also make sure that the correct technologies apply for the recycle of waste and proper infrastructures for the management of waste. We need all stakeholders on board to work in collaboration to make these important changes. I am therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, have to thank the Honourable Minister for Environment, Honourable Ramanu, for taking such a huge step in enabling the conversion of waste to raw materials. This is why I want to contribute to this debate, Mr. Speaker, to Advise Voice, and I thank you for your attention.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Face à ce projet de loi qui est à la fois technique, économique, idéologique et politique, je vais tenter d'être pratique et pragmatique en laissant l'honorable Nakchedi sur la Lune dans sa BMW et je lui demande d'en profiter autant qu'il en est encore capable. Aussi, je commencerai par aborder, dans un premier temps, certaines généralités et technicalités du projet de loi et dans un deuxième temps, j'interviendrai sur quelques modalités de mise en application. Monsieur le Président, nous débattons aujourd'hui d'un nouveau modèle qui vise à réformer nos modes de production et nos habitudes de consommation. En résumé, ce projet de loi vise à transformer notre économie linéaire, produire, consommer, enterrer, en une économie circulaire basée sur soit la valorisation de la matière, c'est l'approche du waste to material, soit la valorisation de l'énergie issue de la matière. C'est le concept du waste to energy. Et je dois dire que depuis que je siège au sein de notre Parlement, cela fait désormais plus de 3 ans, j'ai très régulièrement entendu le ministre de l'Environnement prononcer ces 2 mots, économie circulaire. D'où mon interpellation aujourd'hui, et ce sera là ma première généralité sur ce projet de loi, à savoir son nom. Je m'attendais naturellement à ce que le ministre de l'Environnement l'intitule « The Circular Economy Bill », qui aurait donné, à mon sens, plus de poids à la vision qu'il dit défendre et plus de consistance à ce nouveau modèle de développement économique transversal à tous les ministères. Et je tiens à préciser que cela a été fait dans d'autres pays. La France détient sa loi anti-gaspillage pour une économie circulaire. L'Irlande a fait voter le Circular Economy and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 2022. Et l'Écosse a lancé les consultations pour son Circular Economy Bill. L'intégration et l'utilisation du terme économie dans son sens systémique ne devrait pas être réservée au seul ministère des Finances. Et mon deuxième point général renvoie au calendrier de ce projet de loi qui intervient relativement tard au vu des différentes études et consultations faites dans le passé, y compris par ce même gouvernement sous son format de l'Alliance Les PEP. En effet, le ministre Amano avait lui-même précisé dans sa réponse à la PNQ du 7 juillet 2020 au leader de l'opposition d'alors, l'honorable Boulel, qui va cruellement manquer à ce débat ce soir, qu'il y avait eu déjà plusieurs étapes de franchies, notamment un consultancy study for the development of a new solid waste management strategy and action plan for Mauritius, with focus on resource recovery and recycling, lancé en mars 2017, pour lesquels les consultants avaient soumis leur rapport en décembre 2017. Et à ma connaissance, ce rapport n'a jamais été rendu public, et je profite de mon intervention ce soir pour demander au ministre de bien vouloir déposer ce rapport à la Chambre. Et puis 2 ans après, dans un rapport technique soumis en décembre 2019 par la Technical Committee avec des, je cite, « proposed concrete recommendations on the way forward ». Mars 2017, avril 2023, cela fait quand même 6 ans. Alors je veux bien comprendre qu'en 2017, l'honorable Ramano était assis de ce côté de la Chambre, alors que c'était sous l'impulsion du ministre de l'Environnement de l'époque, l'honorable Sina Tambou, que les études pour la Solid Waste Management Strategy avaient été lancées. Mais le ministre de l'Environnement, l'actuel, aurait quand même pu consolider l'existant pour venir avec ce projet de loi bien plus tôt, au lieu de nous laisser avec cette impression qu'à force de parler d'économie circulaire, ce gouvernement est fini par tourner en rond. Après ces 2 généralités, Monsieur le Président, j'aimerais aborder une technicalité institutionnelle du projet de loi qui me paraît fondamentale par rapport à la réalité de notre contexte local. Il s'agit de l'article 4 du projet de loi qui prévoit la création d'un Department of Waste Management and Resource Recovery. Et je dois dire qu'en écoutant le discours du ministre un peu plus tôt, j'ai été surpris que le ministre de l'Environnement n'ait pas dit un seul mot sur la Solid Waste Management Division et de ce qu'elle va devenir par rapport à la création de ce nouveau département. Ce nouveau département qui aura un rôle majeur à jouer dans la transition vers un système de gestion durable des déchets et de récupération des ressources. Une 15aine de fonctions sont listées pour ce nouveau département, mais je tiens humblement à attirer l'attention du ministre de l'Environnement qu'une fonction majeure est manquante dans la liste des fonctions de ce nouveau département, à savoir The department, et je propose, shall plan, implement, supervise and maintain solid waste management facilities. Car nous devons nous le rappeler, jusqu'à présent, c'est précisément la Solid Waste Management Division qui a entrepris la construction, l'exploitation et l'entretien d'importantes installations et infrastructures de gestion de nos déchets, à savoir le centre d'enfouissement technique de Marchicose, 5 stations de transfert à travers l'île, une installation de stockage intermédiaire des déchets dangereux à la Chaumière et plus récemment 3 déchetteries à la Chaumière, la Laura et Poudre d'Or. Et le ministre a lui-même annoncé dans la PNQ du 7 juillet 2020 que le gouvernement a pour projet de construire 10 déchetteries. Une déchetterie dans chacune des 5 stations de transfert, plus 5 déchetteries additionnelles à proximité des régions habitées. Certes, après 3 ans après cette annonce, la note obtenue n'est que de 3 sur 10, mais en projet, ce sont 7 autres Civic Amenity Centers qui devraient voir le jour tôt ou tard. De plus, je relève qu'à la PQ B515 soulevée par l'honorable Lobin il y a 1 an, en avril 2022, le ministre de l'Environnement avait révélé qu'un montant de 290 millions de roupies avait été alloué pour l'extension verticale du centre de Marchicose sur une période de 10 ans. Et au-delà de ces annonces, et le ministre l'a rappelé dans son discours, actuellement, il y a un appel d'offres lancé en novembre 2022 for the development of 2 regional integrated waste processing facilities in Mauritius, projet qui va coïncider avec l'entrée en vigueur du présent projet de loi, car le ministre a précisé que les soumissions à cet appel d'offres, c'est dans 2 jours. Ce que je cherche à démontrer, Monsieur le Président, c'est qu'au travers de ces différents projets de réalisation, l'État mauricien a été et restera la plus grande entité du pays responsable de la planification, du développement, de l'exploitation, de l'entretien et de la gestion des installations de gestion des déchets. Et ce sera certainement ce nouveau département du Waste Management and Resource Recovery qui sera le bras opérationnel du gouvernement d'aujourd'hui et de demain sur ces questions, d'où la nécessité, me semble-t-il, de rajouter explicitement cette fonction noir sur blanc dans le projet de loi. Et s'il me fallait encore vous convaincre, Monsieur le Ministre, je vous renverrai à un autre article 4, celui de la Wastewater Management Authority Act de 2000, qui stipule comme première fonction de l'autorité que, et je cite, « The objects of the authority shall be to responsible for the wastewater sector in Mauritius and to carry out, monitor, supervise, maintain, manage and control wastewater works. » Wastewater works. Et je ne peux m'empêcher, Monsieur le Président, de rajouter un commentaire sur l'article 5 du bill, le présent bill, à savoir celui qui concerne le directeur de ce département de Waste Management and Resource Recovery. Quand je constate que le directeur d'un autre département, celui du Climate Change, créé dans le Climate Change Act de novembre 2020, n'a toujours pas été nommé, car sur le site internet du ministère de l'Environnement, Madame SM y est mentionnée comme Acting Director of Climate Change. Plus de 2 ans après, j'ose espérer que dans le présent projet de loi, nous ne sommes pas en train de créer une nouvelle fonction pour laquelle il n'y aura pas de nomination. Monsieur le Président, en ce qu'il s'agit des modalités de mise en pratique des activités de collecte, de tri et de valorisation déchets, de la traduction concrète du principe de pollueur-payeur et de la mise en application de la REP, la responsabilité élargie des producteurs, il nous faudra surveiller chaque vendredi soir le compte-rendu des Cabinet Decisions pour connaître les différentes regulations que le ministre aura fait approuver par le Conseil des ministres. Toutefois, je souhaiterais aborder certains aspects pragmatiques de la circularisation de notre économie. Il va sans dire, Monsieur le Président, que le meilleur déchet, c'est celui qu'on ne crée pas. Mais voilà, on a une réalité ici à Maurice. Chaque jour, nous générons 1400 tonnes de déchets, ce qui représente environ 510 000 tonnes à l'année, et ce qui nous coûte aujourd'hui environ 1 milliard de roupies pour la collecte, auquel s'ajoutent 800 millions de roupies pour le traitement, soit un total de 1,8 milliard de roupies par an pour la collecte et le traitement des déchets. C'est le chiffre qui a été donné par le ministre un peu plus tôt. Et évidemment, ce qui nous fait un coût actuel de la gestion des déchets d'environ 3 500 roupies la tonne. Et évidemment, la mise en œuvre d'une nouvelle gestion durable, encadrée et marquée par l'utilisation de nouvelles installations et de nouvelles technologies va impacter ce coût à la tonne. Mais dans un même temps, ce nouveau modèle va engendrer un nouveau développement économique, favoriser l'éco-conception des produits, créer des emplois verts et générer une énergie renouvelable dans le cadre de projets Waste to Energy, tout en diminuant le gaspillage des ressources et l'impact environnemental des déchets. Mais pour rester pragmatique, à la base de cette économie circulaire, il y a un coût à payer. Et la question est précisément de savoir qui va assumer ce coût, qui va collecter les contributions et comment on répartit les fonds de façon intelligente et transparente afin de créer un système fiable, rentable et durable. Monsieur le Président, si je prends l'exemple des bouteilles PET, car il s'agit probablement de l'un des secteurs les mieux structurés selon moi à ce jour, avant même l'introduction de ce projet de loi. En novembre 2010, sous le leadership du Premier ministre de l'époque, le Dr Navin Ramgoolam, le ministre des Finances de l'époque, l'honorable Pravin Jagnnath, avait dans une logique environnementale doublé le excise duty sur les bouteilles PET en le faisant passer de 1 roupie à 2 roupies par bouteille. Et aujourd'hui, 13 ans après, cette écotaxe existe toujours et vise à financer le recyclage des bouteilles plastiques en versant une subvention de 15 roupies par kilo de plastique recyclé. Et si je me base sur les chiffres communiqués par le ministre Ramano lors de la désormais fameuse PNQ de juillet 2020, il y a environ 125 millions de bouteilles PET qui sont mises sur le marché mauricien annuellement, représentant environ 2500 tonnes par an de plastique, dont seulement 40% sont collectés pour le recyclage, soit environ 1000 tonnes de plastique PET recyclés par an. Et Monsieur le Président, quand je fais le calcul basé sur les chiffres du ministre, cela fait donc 125 millions de bouteilles PET que je multiplie par 2 roupies la bouteille, ce qui m'amène à un chiffre de 250 millions de roupies collectées par an par la MRE, alors que l'État ne reverse que 1000 tonnes multipliées par 15 roupies le kilo, c'est-à-dire 15 000 roupies la tonne, ce qui nous fait donc une subvention de 15 millions de roupies reversées chaque année aux recycleurs de plastique PET. L'État collecte donc d'un côté 250 millions de roupies d'éco-contributions et reverse 15 millions seulement d'éco-subventions aux recycleurs plastiques. Et je me suis posé tout bêtement la question, mais que deviennent le différentiel de 235 millions de roupies restant chaque année dans le Consolidated Fund? Cet argent sert-il réellement au recyclage des déchets plastiques? Avec une organisation quelque peu différente en ce qu'il s'agit des pneus, mais là aussi avec des chiffres qui font réfléchir, l'État perçoit un Environment Protection Fee de 50 roupies pour chaque pneu neuf importé à Maurice, soit environ 60 millions de roupies par an sur la base de 1,2 million de pneus importés par an. Ça fait un pneu par habitant. Et en ce qu'il s'agit de la valorisation des pneus usagés, il existe 2 filières, et là je dois dire que je suis assez fier d'avoir pu visiter 2 usines de retraitement des pneus usagés, les 2 se trouvant dans ma circonscription. Alors ce ne sont pas les seuls, mais j'en ai pu identifier 2, qui font 2 métiers différents. Une première entreprise qui est basée à Paille, qui procède au rechappage des pneus de poids lourds, et une deuxième entreprise basée à la Tour-Kénic, qui, elle, procède au broyage et au recyclage du caoutchouc, pas de cuivre, qui provient des pneus usés pour en faire des pellets ou de la poudre recyclée destinée à l'export vers l'Inde ou vers l'Europe pour fabriquer des pneus neufs ou pour être incorporés dans les revêtements de voirie. Et là aussi, basé sur la subvention de l'État. Alors l'État a mis en place 2 types de subventions quand il s'agit de pneus. D'un côté, pour les pneus rechappés, c'est 25 roupies par pneu rechappé. Et quand vous broyez le caoutchouc du pneu pour en faire de la poudre ou des pellets, c'est 2 roupies par kilo de matière caoutchouc recyclée. Et quand j'additionne avec les chiffres de pneus rechappés et de caoutchouc recyclé, j'arrive à 30 millions de roupies subventionnées, alors que l'État a collecté 60 millions de roupies de taxes. Que deviennent les 30 millions de roupies non utilisées dans les caisses de l'État? Et j'ai refait le calcul comme ça pour différentes filières, par exemple pour les téléphones portables. Je ne sais pas combien, alors je sais que tout le monde a au moins un téléphone portable dans cette chambre, je ne sais pas combien d'entre vous, vous savez que sur chaque téléphone neuf importé à Maurice, il y a un Environment Protection Fee de 70 roupies par téléphone importé. Alors qu'il n'existe à ce jour aucun mécanisme organisé et subventionné pour le recyclage de ces téléphones et de ce qu'on appelle les D3E, les déchets d'équipements électriques et électroniques, ordinateurs, télévisions, réfrigérateurs, lave-linge, qui représentent environ 9000 tonnes par an et pour lesquels le Advanced Recycling Fee annoncé dans le budget 2016-2017 n'a jamais été mis en place. Au final, Monsieur le Président, pour organiser, structurer et financer les filières de recyclage des différents produits recyclables, que ce soit le plastique, les pneus, les D3E ou encore le papier, le carton ou le verre, il nous faudra fort probablement faire appel au dispositif de la responsabilité élargie du producteur, dont le principe est assez simple à comprendre. Celui qui fabrique un produit, celui qui distribue un produit ou celui qui importe un produit doit prendre en charge la fin de vie de ce produit. Et nous parlons ici bien du concept de pollueur-payeur, car plus un produit est polluant, plus les coûts pour gérer sa fin de vie seront importants pour le producteur. Alors à la nuance près, et ça c'est une réalité locale dans notre pays, c'est qu'à Maurice, nous comptons très peu de fabricants, de producteurs, mais beaucoup plus d'importateurs et de distributeurs. Et donc à Maurice, selon ce nouveau modèle, ces importateurs-distributeurs pourront être appelés à mettre en pratique des structures collectives à but non lucratif, appelées éco-organismes, qui devront être agréés au moins par les ministères de l'Environnement et des Finances sur la base d'un cahier des charges, d'agrément spécifique à la filière qui les concerne. Et cet agrément pourra être revu sur une base périodique, par exemple tous les 5 ans. Ainsi, pour chaque produit mis sur le marché, l'importateur ou le distributeur versera une éco-contribution à l'éco-organisme auquel il adhère, et son montant sera directement lié au type de produit mis sur le marché et au coût de la gestion de déchets en fin de vie. Les éco-contributions permettront ainsi de financer l'ensemble des obligations des producteurs, prévention, réutilisation, collecte, tri, recyclage, valorisation matière, valorisation énergétique et évidemment la sensibilisation du public. Alors il s'agira clairement d'un changement drastique pour tous, et y compris pour l'État, qui dans ce modèle-là devra s'habituer à ne plus percevoir les éco-contributions et à ne pas en fixer les montants. Monsieur le Président, je veux terminer en disant un mot rapide sur les déchets organiques qui représentent environ 60% de nos déchets. Autrement dit, sur les 510 000 tonnes de déchets enfouis chaque année à Marchicose, ce sont 306 000 tonnes de déchets organiques compostables qui ne sont pas exploités immédiatement, mais qui pour autant vont grossir le gisement enfoui qui, sur le moyen et sur le long terme, alimentera la centrale locale du landfill gas to energy qui transforme le biogaz en électricité. Ainsi, dans le contexte de l'appel d'offres qui est en cours et des prochains appels d'offres à venir, pour la mise en place des centres de tri et de compostage des déchets organiques, il faudra que l'État soutienne la filière du compost local, non seulement à travers le paiement d'un tipping fee par tonne de matière, mais aussi en s'engageant, via le ministère du Commerce, sur un volume de compost made in Maurice qui sera obligatoirement écoulé sur le marché mauricien afin d'éviter de reproduire certaines erreurs fatales du passé pour la filière du compostage, comme celle qu'on peut encore voir à la Chaumière. Monsieur le Président, et je termine ici, il y a 12 jours, c'était le 30 mars, le secrétaire de l'ONU, M. Antonio Guterres, citait la ville de Kigali, la capitale du Rwanda, comme l'une des villes leaders au monde du waste management, aux côtés du Japon et de la Slovénie, à suivre en exemple pour avoir atteint un taux de valorisation de 50 à 80% de ces déchets. Vivement donc le jour où les Nations Unies pourront en dire de même pour la République de Maurice. J'en ai terminé, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. First and foremost, I seize the opportunity to congratulate Honorable Minister, Mr. Kavidas Ramanu, and he's dedicated to him who has worked on the waste management and resource bill before this House. This bill bears testimony that the government, and particularly our Honorable Prime Minister, is committed to set out a roadmap geared towards waste management and best interests of the citizen of Mauritius. Mr. Speaker, sir, it was really important to bring this bill to the House when we see what is happening in the world and also in Mauritius when it comes to waste management. If we take the example in England, there are about 1,177 million of tons of waste that is thrown every year. In Australia, 67 million tons, we can say, and there has been the National Waste Report prepared by the Commonwealth Department, what it reveals that Australia generates more waste than the Western economy, at an estimated 67 million tons of waste it was in 2016 and 17, equivalent to 2.7 ton per capita. And it is also recycling less than average. And here in Mauritius, we had, when we looked at the latest figures, what has been mentioned by other honorable members, whether it was from the opposition, even the minister said it, we have our linear model, which waste management has so far focused on landfilling of collected municipal waste at marshy coast. And the recycling sector is still at its infancy stage. And I think Honorable David will agree with me. And I think he agrees with the bill also when we listen to his speech. And he is very much focused on what we need to do. And this is what this government is doing. We are going in the direction that we are, when we talk about circular economy, the loop economy, we, on waste management specifically, we're thinking about, like you said yourself, the best way was to not generate waste. But we know that there is an education to be done. And I was talking earlier to the Honorable Vice Prime Minister, Honorable Dukan, who also, she was saying to me that, in fact, we have a big education to do for this paradigm shift. Even at school, we need to do it so that our children for tomorrow, like Honorable Nekchedi has said, We are bringing this bill for the future of this country. And when we talk about, we know that what is the devastating effect of climate change on our country, being a small island development state. We see how important this bill is. And when we have seen what has happened in Moshikos with regards to the methane and with regards to the team from the fire rescue services, which has been for, we can say for weeks, trying to stop the fire that has initiated there, which has affected many of the population in the region, we can say that there has to be a rethinking. We had to adopt it. And circular economy, Honorable David, it's not come from Honorable Kavidas Ramano, this government is bringing this term. The United Nations has, in the past, even in the European Parliament, they have come with this concept. And it's not a new concept. It's not that we are bringing a new word from a dictionary, but we need to focus on what we have to do for the future of this country. We would like to be seated like by Mr. Guterres, that Mauritius is among, like Kigali, among the cleanest country, cleanest island. Why not? We would like to be like this. But we have to start somewhere. And this is where we are starting. And we're going to go with the waste to energy. This is another concept that we have to put. You mentioned about France. Do you know that France has come up with a green bond with regards to industry? Because the polluters, they're the ones that have to pay. And they're contributing. They started with if I'm not mistaken, 700 million euros. Now it's above billion euros. We can say that they are contributing in the economy, and this is how they are financing. In Australia, for example, they have even put on, from the council, they have also put on I would say, another concept that they are putting is recycling modernization fund, and also they are bringing other fund that is important to support some industry, but also to make the industries and companies to realize that it's important to save the planet. And that's why it is important that this bill is before this House today. We have to start somewhere, and I think my honorable colleague is in the right direction. And with the support of the expert from the University of Mauritius, they have been developing a plan, and we have to start somewhere, and we're going in the right direction. But we are also in line with our government program, like has been mentioned by Honorable Ramano, where we stated that by 2030, our goal is to develop an ecological transition and reduce it by 70%, and the volume of waste disposed in the landfill to be in line with SDG 12 on responsible consumption and production. But there's a big education to be done. In fact, we should take the example of Honorable Jagat Pal. Even when we're talking about cars, he's the one who is using electric car. I don't know how many of us are using electric cars, but he's the one contributing to save the planet, and for Mauritius to contribute towards it. And we can say also that there is much things to be done. There is much things to be done, and I was also Honorable Adila Mia mentioned about that this industry should not be making money. I see it, Mr. Speaker, sir, as an opportunity. This waste resource management can be a pillar of the economy. When we see, Honorable David was just mentioning about mobile, everyone has minimum, I don't think one, I think 2 mobile everyone has in this house. Minimum 2 mobiles. Recycling of the e-waste. E-waste is a big industry nowadays. We can see how much China is doing about it. how China has been importing waste. We are thinking about disposing waste, they were importing waste. And how they have been developing the electronic. And Mr. Speaker, sir, the increasing volume and complexity of waste associated with modern economy is posing a serious risk to the ecosystem and human health. It has been mentioned by Honorable Nakchedi and also by Honorable Leopold earlier. When we take, for example, every year we have an estimated 11.2 billion tons of solid waste, which is collected worldwide, and the decay of organic proportion of solid waste is contributing about 5% of global greenhouse gas emission. And of all waste stream, waste from electrical and electronic equipments containing new and complex hazardous substances present the fastest growing challenge in both developed and developing countries. But this is because of the poor waste management ranging from non-existing collection system to ineffective disposal which causes, like I've said earlier, air pollution, water and soil contamination. And landfill is no longer the solution. So we had to come with this bill and come with proper decisions so that tomorrow waste to energy is a reality, green bond is a reality in this country, like we have been doing in France. We have also the electronic waste as a part of the economy, which is an industry which can create more jobs for many people here, and green jobs like we have said earlier. But Mr. Speaker, sir, the solution for minimization of waste, it's difficult to achieve right now if we don't have a proper education, a proper, like we have said, action plan, and I've seen that in the bill. The ministers coming with a proper action plan, and they will need to work on it. And I think we will need to have many actors, even in the private sector, like we have been doing always in Mauritius, consultation and working together with most of the actors, because it don't concern only the government. We need to have the opposition, we need to have also the polluters, the companies, that is, you can describe them as polluters, recycling companies, and now we can say with the incentive that governments are giving in even the industry sector, I can say to Honorable David that you will see soon that there will be new companies which are coming. Me, I'm a professional which has been working in the agricultural sector before working on the African continent in the financial services sector. I can tell you that I have so many companies that 2 or 3 companies who wants to come to Mauritius to do recycling of la roue, of tires. And they are big companies that are doing it in South Africa. And they have a good track record, and they're coming here to do it. And I will tell you also that there are many things that the government is giving incentive so that we can attract more investors, so that create more jobs. And we agree, there are many things that we don't know. Waste to energy, this is something that we have to learn. The Honourable Minister have said that there has been a feasibility study has been done, and there are other feasibility study that they are in line that in the future they want to do, so that we go in this direction, because this is the future. If we want to save our country and our planet, this is where we have to go. And I would say that if we take the example, Mr. Speaker, sir, where waste cannot be avoided, but the recovery of materials and energy from waste, as well as remanufacturing and recycling waste into usable product, should be the second option. And recycling leads to substantial resource saving. For example, if I give you every ton of paper recycled, 70 trees and 50% of water can be saved. just to tell you that this government, through our Honorable Minister, is bringing this bill to the House so that we have a roadmap to go towards this green energy and also to fight for climate change, and also to make another economy, another pillar of the economy. Because Mauritius, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have only human resources. We don't have oil. We are not like other countries that we have gold. We have our sun, sea, and beaches. Now we have been selling our Mauritius international financial sector, which has been attracting many investors to come here and creating jobs for our youth. And this industry of waste and resource management could be one future for our children. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I welcome this bill to the House, and I thank the Honorable Minister for bringing it here, and I fully support it. I thank you for your attention.
Mr. Speaker, sir, one of the consequences of the global urbanization is increasing volume of solid waste. According to estimates made by Bid and Bloom in 1995, about 1.3 billion metric tons of municipal solid waste was generated globally in 1990. At present, the yearly generation of solid waste equals to 1.6 billion metric tons, approximately. A considerable amount of money went into managing such huge volumes of solid waste. Asian countries alone spent about $25 billion on solid waste management per year in the early 1990s. This figure is expected to rise to $50 billion USD by 2025, according to Hoonweg and Thomas. These figures suggest that solid waste management has become a large, complex, and costly service. Solid waste management can be defined as a discipline associated with the control of generation, storage, collection, transfer, processing, disposal of municipal solid waste, sustainable solid waste management in a way which is governed by the best principles of public health, economics, engineering, aesthetics, and other environmental considerations. Mr. Speaker, sir, the government of Mauritius spends around 1.5 billion annually on waste management, including waste collection, operation and maintenance of transfer station, transportation of waste to landfill and operation, maintenance of landfill site. The local authorities altogether spend 990 million annually on waste collection services. Mauritius, with a total population of 1.3 million, generates about, as already said by the Honorable Minister, 1,488 tons of waste daily. In 2018, the total volume of waste disposed at Mexico's landfill was 543,196 tons, which is a sole landfill on the island. Mr. Speaker, sir, as compared to solid waste, where an average of 540,000 tons are generated annually and disposed of at Mexico's landfill, it is estimated that an average of 17,000 tons of hazardous waste are generally generated annually, out of which 10% comprising laboratory and industrial chemical waste, paint waste, obsolete pesticides, pharmaceutical waste, gas cylinders, waste aerosols, and these cannot be disposed of locally. Due to the increase in solid waste generation, an average of 3.1% per annum over the past 10 years, the lifetime of Mexico's has decreased significantly and will reach saturation by the current design soon. In view of the impending saturation of Mexico's sanitary landfill and no other short-form measures available, government has already embarked on the vertical expansion of the landfill site. Mr. Speaker, sir, the setting up of any waste treatment disposal facility generally takes 3 to 5 years to materialize. Whatever future waste treatment of disposal facility is implemented, there will always be some residual waste and rejects emanating from these plants during the operation as well as maintenance of these facilities. These need to be ultimately disposed in a landfill. Attempts to find land for new landfill with a view of creating disposal capacity for the coming years have not yielded expected results. If the implementation of any expansion of Mexico's landfill is started indicatively, the additional lifespan is expected to be at least 10 years. Once a Mexico's landfill is saturated after the expansion, there will still be a need for a landfill. New land of an extent of 30 to 40 hectares will have to be sought for development of a new landfill. Lateral expansion of the landfill will be envisaged, but this entails surveys, relevant ministries, and negotiation with landowners. Mr. Speaker, sir, the increase in solid waste generation is becoming a major problem in Mauritius, with the sole landfill of the island nearing saturation, while the Mexico landfill has been ensuring a safe and environmentally sound management of solid waste since 1997. This is not a sustainable approach now. In this context, the Solid Waste Management Division, with the financial assistance of Agence France de Développement, developed a new solid waste management strategy and action plan focusing on resource recovery and recycling. Mr. Speaker, sir, this strategy and action plan requires a regulatory framework to ensure the environmentally safe and sound management of solid waste and hazardous waste, and includes a sustainable waste management system through adoption of a circular economy approach focusing on waste reduction, reuse, treatment, safe disposal, material recovery, and recycling. The strategy action plan defines 5 key areas that represent the cornerstone of the new solid waste management strategy for Mauritius as follows. Strategy 1, prevention and environmentally responsible consumption. Second is the increase in resource recovery. Third is adequate technology for energy recovery. Fourth is provision of adequate disposal infrastructure, and the fifth is information, education, and communication. The ministry is embarking on the setting up and operation of regional composting plants and sorting units on public-private partnership PPP basis. Prior to the operation of the regional composting plants and sorting units, waste segregation at source will have to become a reality in Mauritius. In that regard, bins will be provided to each household for source segregation of the waste into 3 fractions, namely wet waste, organic waste, dry waste, which is recyclable materials, and residual waste. Composting plants will accept source segregated organic waste such as food and yard waste, while the sorting units will accept recyclable materials such as paper, plastics, glass, and metals for further sorting prior to selling to recyclers. It is expected that the first composting plant and sorting unit will be operational by next year in the northern and western regions of Mauritius. Notwithstanding the coming into operation of regional composting plants and sorting units, the Solid Waste Management Division has already initiated several projects in line with resource recovery and recycling, as well as setting up of a civic amenity center within La Chaumière, La Laura, Poudre d'Eau, and Rousebois transfer stations to allow the public to dispose of their waste items such as paper, plastics, metals, construction and demolition waste, waste oil, e-waste, and used tires. Mr. Speaker, sir, with all these projects to be implemented in the short to medium term, it is expected that the recycling industry in Mauritius will significantly develop a line with a circular economy and thus help Mauritius achieve target 12.5 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal on responsible consumption and production. That is, by 2030, substantially reduce waste generation through prevention, reduction, recycling, and use. This bill accordingly inter alia provides for a Department of Waste Management and Resource Recovery which shall inter alia develop natural strategies and action plans for solid waste and hazardous waste, implement measures related to the sustainable and integrated management of waste, regulate the waste management sector, monitor the collection, treatment, and disposal of waste. Mr. Speaker, sir, for Mauritius, another very suitable or even the best way is to ensure sustainable solid waste management through waste incineration with energy recovery and with view to diverting maximum disposal of waste from landfilling. However, this does not fall under the ambit of the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change, but through the Renewable Energy Roadmap 2030 of the electric sector of the Government of Mauritius through the Ministry of Energy and Public Utilities has committed not only to abate GHG emissions by 40% by 2030, but more importantly, to pursue its green energy transition and develop a more resilient national electric sector that is grounded on a richer mix of renewable energy. Mr. Speaker, sir, these initiatives are expected to trigger economic growth, job creation, and overall improvement in social welfare. Clear objectives of the energy sector have been set up by government, some of which have been announced in the budget of 2021, namely, the establishment of the green energy industry as an economic pillar of activity, an accelerated increase in the share of renewable energy in the electricity mix to 60% by 2030, phasing out of the use of coal in electricity generation by 2030, and increase of 10% energy efficiency by 2030. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would here congratulate the Minister of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change, Honorable Kavi Ramanu, for this important bill to be brought to this House to ensure achieve target 12.5 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal on responsible consumption and production. To conclude, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to refer to the statement made by the Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi on the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum 27, which reads as follows, and I quote, "It is our conviction that we have no right to snatch from our future generations the right to have a clean and beautiful earth. It is part of our thinking that for that reason, we do not believe in exploitation of nature. We people do not have the right to take more than necessary from nature." End of quote. With this, Mr. Speaker, sir, I end my proposal and discussion in the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is an old saying that rings so true today: waste not, want not. And today, Mr. Speaker, global leaders, local communities, and our country alike increasingly call for a fix for the so-called throw-away culture. But beyond individuals and households, waste also represents a broader challenge that affects human health and livelihoods the environment and prosperity. Solid waste management is a universal issue that matters to every single person in the world, Mr. Speaker. The United Nations General Assembly on the 14th of December 2022 formally recognized the importance of zero waste initiatives and proclaimed the 30th of March as the International Day of Zero Waste. Same was observed for the first time this year. And one of the main concerns of our planet Earth, Mr. Speaker, is plastic pollution. Much efforts are being put by various governments around the world, even in Mauritius, with the introduction of new regulations and legislations with regards to single-use plastics. Plastic pollution is one of the most pressing global environmental issues, Mr. Speaker. The world produces 400 million tons of plastic annually, 25 times more than 60 years ago. Only 9% is recycled, 12% is incinerated, and 79% is landfilled or ends in nature. This shows the colossal task that we have here in Mauritius, even being a small country, this colossal task of dealing with waste, and most importantly, plastic waste, because it is embedded in our culture. We use plastic every day for several years now, Mr. Speaker. In Mauritius, an average of 500 kilos of plastic waste is produced per inhabitant annually. And every year, 70,000 tons of plastic wastes are disposed in the landfill of Marchicos. 3,000 tons only are recycled, and an undefined amount ends up in the environment. And Mr. Speaker, over the past 10 years, solid waste generation in Mauritius has been increasing at a rate of 2% per annum, mainly due to an increase in economic growth and associated changes in consumption. In 2021, Mr. Speaker, for instance, over 500,000 tons of solid waste were disposed at Marchicos landfill, as rightly pointed out by the Honourable Minister in his speech, which has managed more than 9 million tons of solid waste since it started operating in 1997. However, Mr. Speaker, as waste generation increases, so does the importance of setting up an effective solid waste management system. And to avoid issues such as pollution, related health risks, resource depletion and wastage, the focus on waste prevention, reduction, reuse and recycling, as opposed to using the landfill, is, in my humble opinion, the way forward. A legal framework for the sound management of waste is therefore fundamental to creating the appropriate conditions for the effective management of all waste streams. This solid waste management legislative framework, therefore, aims to provide strategic direction and regulation for sustainable solid and hazardous waste management practices. This new framework will consolidate all the legal provisions pertaining to solid and hazardous waste contained in various laws and enable the implementation of a circular economy in the waste sector. However, Mr. Speaker, I am concerned about the applicability and the practicality of this bill. The handling of and disposal of municipal solid waste is a growing concern in Mauritius, which, with the increased volume of solid waste generated and the saturation of the sole landfill facility on the island, Marchicos, numerous gaps do exist in the current solid waste management system of the country, and which is, in my humble opinion, outdated. And I will join my honourable learned colleague David and Adila Miamia, and also the concern of the Honourable Minister and other speakers from the other side of the House when they spoke about Marchicos. Marshikos, Mr. Speaker, Honorable David spoke about the technicality with regard to this landfill. I am talking about Marshikos, about a catastrophe in waiting. The Minister, the Honorable Minister, mentioned the fire that broke out last October, and it took months to be brought under control. We may not be lucky next time around, Mr. Speaker. Marshikos, the only landfill site, is completely saturated, and wastes are being dumped in a haphazard manner. We cannot wait any longer. Why I say so, Mr. Speaker, I will refer from what the National Audit Report had to say on Marshikos, and I'm referring to page 238, section 13.2 of this report. This is what the report says about Marshikos. There are considerable delays in awarding a new works contract. A contract of 59 months awarded in January 2014 is still ongoing and has been extended by an additional 52 months up to now. So as, Mr. Speaker, bidding documents are still being prepared, the extension period will exceed the initial contract period. If I can use an anecdote, this qualifies to be recorded also in the Guinness Book of Records. This is unprecedented, Mr. Speaker. If you refer to what the report said, the audit report, the bidding documents who were still at the CPB, the best case scenario for a new contract to be awarded could be at the earliest possible October or November 2023. And the main concern here, Mr. Speaker, is the problem of void space to dispose of waste. This will persist, and even if you award that contract, it will take at least 6 to 7 months after the award for those new spaces to be created. And this is of serious concern, Mr. Speaker, because we do not want to have a repetition of what happened in October. And I share the concern of the Honourable Minister on this matter, and we all are very concerned about this issue. And, Mr. Speaker, this is a project with a localized site and ongoing activities virtually unchanged since the year 2000. That is some 23 years ago. And the Ministry is now taking more than 5 years to award a contract. Maybe I shall request my honourable colleague, Mr. Reza Outim, who is the chairman of PAC, that they should have a look at this issue raised by the director of the audit with regards to the landfill at Marshikos. They should go there for a constat de visu. And it is my humble opinion, Mr. Speaker, that a good, well-planned biomethanization project will increase renewable energy production and is sustainable. And this is the case, Mr. Speaker. We've got experience in that. The company that is doing that process at Marshikos, they've got that experience. They are going the extra miles, but we have to match those demands. We've got new technologies with regards to methanization. In France, this is becoming something very interesting with regards to sustainability of this project. So I will invite the Honourable Minister to have a holistic approach with regard to Marshikos at the earliest convenience. We cannot allow this to continue, and we cannot wait for all those legislative frameworks to be put in place, with the regulations or the promulgation of this law to act. We need to act now for Marshikos. There is an urgent issue for Marshikos. With regard to the bill, Mr. Speaker, I refer to clause 17, duties of local authorities. The Honourable Minister spoke about the local authorities with regards to their staffing, to their equipments, and I completely share his views that yes, they need proper staffing, They need proper equipment. But again, we need to look at the reality. And the reality is what, again, the Director of Audit has said with regard to his comments on local authorities. And I quote, in the report, it is said, the Ministry of Local Government and Disaster Risk Management awarded the contract for the supply of 7 lorries mounted with crane for the sum of 27.5 million rupees in July 2019. The lorries were for the benefit of 7 different local authorities, and delivery was scheduled for January 2020. They were received in June 2020 and were already registered in the name of the 7 local authorities. 4 commissioning exercises had to be carried out due to non-compliance of proposed models with technical specifications. The report of the 4th commissioning exercise was not yet finalized in January 2023. 3.5 years after the award of the contract, Mr. Speaker, delivery of the lorries as per specifications did not materialize. So it is very nice to have a very well-drafted piece of legislation, but in practice, those people working in the scavenging unit, those soldiers who have to go day in, day out to go and collect those waste, they do not have proper equipment, they are not well paid, they are not well equipped, and they do not have lorries. I take the example of the Municipal Council of Aqua Phoenix. Right now, Mr. Speaker, you've got 8 lorries that are out of use, cannot be used. So just imagine the state, the reality of things on the field. So I invite the Honourable Minister that with this new piece of legislation, there should be a memorandum of understanding that should be entered with the local authorities, because most of the policy matters will be taken over by the director as specified in this bill, and I would invite the Honourable Minister to also have a look at what we have with the Police de l'Environnement. Again, enforcement agencies, Mr. Speaker. We want to tackle the problem of waste in this country. We've got les éboueurs, but we've got people that should enforce the law. Go and have a look at the conditions of work of those in the Police de l'Environnement. When they come in your locality, when there is a complaint, you need to make a complaint against them because their vehicles are not properly equipped, and it's dirty, and they do not have the required equipment to enforce the law. They do not have the proper staffing. I know the Honourable Minister can ask the Commissioner of Police, the Police de l'Environnement to be assisted. But if we need a proactive approach, if we need to be a sustainable island, we need a proper Police de l'Environnement, Mr. Speaker, sir. And in that same vein, Mr. Speaker, I would also invite the Honourable Minister to give us more clarity with regard to clause 23, collection of waste, at subparagraph 2, whereby it is stated that a local authority may, for the purpose of subsection 1, and with the approval of the Minister, prescribe a fee for the collection and disposal of household waste, commercial waste, and industrial waste. We need more clarity. Is it a disguised form of taxation to urban and rural inhabitants, as my honourable colleague, Honourable Adila Miemia, rightly pointed out? We need clarity on this issue. And with regards to clause 24, with regard to receptacles of household waste, again, how will distribution of same be done? Will each household be given free of charge for the first time those receptacles? Or will they have to pay for it, as mentioned at subparagraph 3 of this particular clause in this bill? So we need clarity. I would invite the Honourable Minister to clarify on this matter, because the inhabitants of Mauritius, being in the rural or urban areas, are asking questions. Right now, we are having difficulties. There are certain regions that are obtaining what they call poubelle, and certain regions, they do not have it. Now, we need free receptacles. How will this be done in practice? I would invite more clarity from the Honourable Minister on this matter. With regards to the end of life vehicle, I welcome the position of the Honourable Minister on this issue, and I appreciate that he has taken into account the technical assistance of Africa Rise on this issue. And this is also of paramount importance, Mr. Speaker. We are having so much vehicles on our roads. It is increasing day by day. This is a vibrant industry. We are selling more cars, and of course, we are generating more waste out of all those used end-of-life cars. So we need, again, a holistic approach. We need to talk to the relevant stakeholders in this particular matter, because it should be done in a very technical matter. I know at Réunion Island there are process plants over there that could be of help to us, and maybe the Honourable Minister could go for a visit to see how it works, because the amount of vehicles that we have in Réunion Island match a little bit what we have here in Mauritius. And of course, it might also not be a very popular measure to put in place with regards to end-of-life vehicle, because there are people that have a good vehicle which is 15, 20 years old. So all these should be looked at with a very holistic approach. And I welcome this policy decision from the Honourable Minister. As a note of conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I hope that bureaucracy and red tapeism will not hinder the rapid mise en place of this legal framework being proposed. And here I refer to the fate of the National Environment Cleaning Authority. After a year, Mr. Speaker, we are still awaiting for the National Cleaning and Embellishment Strategy with an action plan to embellish Mauritius and keep Mauritius clean. In the meantime, our country, if we go by the state of uncleanliness of our motorways, we all witness this every day. You know, we do not have lawns anymore. We do not have beautiful flowers. We have grasses that are becoming shrubs, and we wait for it to become 1 or 2 meters in height, then we just cut it. And it's ugly. We do not have a proper plan for that. So I invite the Honourable Minister and the government to walk the talk. We want a clean Mauritius. I support the policy of the Honourable Minister with regards to implementation of this bill, but we've got a real issue of red tapeism and bureaucracy in Mauritius. You are the policy maker, but you've got your committees in place. You need to have them monitored properly so that those policies are applied properly and in a timely manner. And I also invite the Honourable Minister to embark in an educational program, not just for the students, but for the population at large, because we've got a mentality, a culture of not to accept change with regards to cleanliness. We do have that culture of so we need this tough approach in terms of education and dissemination of those information via this piece of legislation. And Honourable Minister, walk the talk with regard to this bill. You have our support to have a clean and sustainable Mauritius. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the adjournment of the debates.
Question seconded. The question is that the debate be now adjourned. Those in favor say aye, those against say no. Ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the adjournment of the Assembly to Tuesday, 18th April at 11:30 a.m.
Seconded. The House stands adjourned. Adjournment matter.
Merci. Je m'adresse à l'honorable ministre des Infrastructures nationales par rapport à l'eau qui s'accumule abondamment en temps de pluie à la rue Popenessi à Beaubassin, à proximité d'un arrêt d'autobus, d'un covil et du restaurant couramment appelé restaurant Coco. Et le ministre des Finances lui-même est un témoin privilégié, si j'ose dire, de cette situation, car il a grandi dans les environs. Et pas plus loin que la semaine dernière, moi-même et mon collègue et moi-même, nous avons parlé de ce problème au ministre des Finances. Et il est vrai qu'un exercice de nettoyage de ces drains ont eu lieu, mais malgré cela, le problème reste entier. Et alors, au nom des habitants de Montroche, je demande que ces drains puissent être revus et remodelés. Merci.
Matter to my colleague.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Ma requête s'adresse au ministre de l'Énergie, l'honorable Joe Jongar. Ça fait 1 an que l'avenue, l'impasse Mad Max à Chamonix Road, chemin Grenier, a subi des fouilles dues aux travaux effectués par la CWA et depuis, cette route est restée dans cet état. Et je demanderai humblement au ministre de faire le nécessaire afin de réasphalter cette route car les habitants de l'avenue Mad Max souffrent énormément en période de grosses pluies. Merci.
The speakers have taken note. I'll convey the message to the General Manager of the Central Water Authority. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Ma requête s'adresse à l'honorable Alan Ganou. Les responsables de la paroisse de Sainte-Croix souhaiteraient aménager un abri-bus sur l'allée Père-Laval, non loin de l'église. Je demande donc au ministre de bien vouloir organiser une visite sur les lieux avec la TMRSU afin d'avoir leurs recommandations pour la réalisation de ce projet pour les habitants de Sainte-Croix et des alentours. Merci.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. I've taken good note of the point of the issue raised by the honourable member. I will certainly look into the matter, get in touch with the TMRSU and the honourable member herself and her colleagues of the constituency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. My request tonight is addressed to Honourable Alan Ganou, Minister of Transport and Night Rail. It concerns bus route 104 Lacroix Street and bus route 121 Camp-le-Vieux. Both of the buses were supposed to be on the new metro station because these urban buses bring people from different regions to the metro station. And we have myself and my colleague, the Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Obigadi, we have received complaints from members of the public from Lacroix and Camp-le-Vieux so that the bus are on the metro station because it's very far for them to walk and during rainy days, you know, as QPP is very rainy and this is causing much inconvenience to the inhabitants. I would request if you could talk to the NLTA to do the needful at your end.
Certainly, Mr. Speaker, sir. I will get in touch with the authorities, the NLTA, and do the needful.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Ma requête de ce soir s'adressera au ministre des Infrastructures nationales et concerne le drain qui longe ce que l'on appelle à Paille la colline de Bonnefin. C'est un drain qui se retrouve au fil des mois et des années obstrué par de la terre, des roches et des débris qui sont lessivés systématiquement par l'eau de pluie. Et ce drain étant quasiment bouché, l'eau de pluie au lieu d'être évacués, ruissellent et inondent les maisons et les cours à Bonnefin, à Paille, à Bellevillage et à Plaine-Lezan. Puis-je, du coup, solliciter le ministre pour que les travaux soient réalisés afin de déboucher et peut-être même d'optimiser l'évacuation de ce drain sur la colline de Bonnefin? Merci.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I've taken good note of the request of the honourable member, and I'm surely going to transmit the message to my colleague.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, my address tonight goes to the Vice Prime Minister, Minister of Local Government, Disaster and Risk Management, as well as the Minister of National Infrastructure and Community Development. It is with regard to the small community area called Paul Taureau, which is located next to La Croisée Vallée des Prêtres, where I have received numerous complaints from the inhabitants of the region. Paul Taureau is unfortunately an area where there's only one entrance, one road, which ends with a dead end, as we call it. It has a drain network which goes in between the road, and during the heavy rainfall, the road with the drain becomes in a pitiful state. So I would humbly request both ministers to kindly find a solution for all the inhabitants of Paul Taureau, because as I mentioned it, there's only one access to that area, and at times it becomes very difficult for the children to leave home to go to school, as well as the vehicles to drive out of Paul Taureau to La Croisée Vallée des Prêtres. I thank you for your attention.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the request of the honourable member will be conveyed to my colleagues, the Vice Prime Minister and the Minister of M&I.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My humble request is addressed to the Honourable Minister of Energy and Public Utilities. It concerns the SEIBE office at Vakwa. During heavy rainfall, Honourable Minister, the yard of SEIBE Vakwa is inaccessible to most of the users. Even if you've got just a small plot of land over there whereby they can stand during heavy rainfall, they cannot have access to, because there are works being done there, and it's just like a lake now if you go there. So if you could kindly use your good office so that the CB could remediate the situation and have those repairs done at the earliest convenience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I've taken good note of the matter raised by the honourable member. I'll convey same to the General Manager of the Central Electricity Board and request him urgently to do the needful. Thank you.
Ma requête s'adresse au ministre de la Santé au sujet de l'absence d'un médecin à plein temps et d'un manque de dentistes au Pointe-Sable Community Center, inauguré le 23 février de cette année. En effet, ce Health Center est desservi par un médecin seulement, un médecin qui fait le va-et-vient entre le dispensaire de la Tour Clinique et le Pointe-Sable Community Health Center. De plus, il n'y a pas de dentiste, contrairement à ce qui avait été promis aux habitants. Il y a également un manque de médicaments dans ce Health Center. Je fais donc un pressant appel au ministre afin qu'un médecin et un dentiste à plein temps y soient postés et de faire diligence en ce qui concerne l'approvisionnement en médicaments. Merci.
Mr. Speaker, sir, dental services are provided in community health centers on a weekly or fortnightly basis, because the number of patients attending can be clustered into one clinic. And then as for the doctor who is going from one local health centers to another, it's all on the different services being provided. That's why the doctor has been transferred. Otherwise, unless there is some other issues, that's probably the reason. I will find out and I will let the honourable member know about it.
Monsieur le Président, ma requête s'adresse ce soir au ministre des Infrastructures publiques et concerne un problème récurrent d'inondation dans les morcellements, les vues d'Albion, phase 1 et 2, et Splendid View, toujours à Albion. En effet, Monsieur le Président, les habitants de ces deux morcellements ne savent plus à quel saint se vouer lorsqu'il y a des pluies torrentielles. À chaque fois, c'est la panique pour ces nombreuses familles qui vivent dans ces deux régions. Et il s'avère, en effet, d'une part, que le système de canalisation n'est pas suffisant pour résorber la quantité d'eau qui est déversée en temps de pluie. Et d'autre part, le canal de Magenta, qui borde ces deux morcellements, subit également des débordements avec les conséquences que l'on connaît. Donc, Monsieur le Président, les habitants ont adressé une pétition datant de février de cette année au Conseil de district de Rivière-Noire, et j'ai d'ailleurs déjà fait parvenir au ministre Riram une copie ainsi que des photos et des vidéos. De ce fait, je sollicite l'honorable ministre, en fait, afin qu'il demande à la Land Drainage Authority d'effectuer une visite des lieux dans les plus brefs délais et de trouver des solutions rapides et efficaces face à ce calvaire que vivent les résidents des morcellements précités. Je vous remercie.
Monsieur le Président, j'ai pris note de la requête de l'honorable membre et je vais en transmettre à mon collègue, le ministre Hiram.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. My request tonight is addressed to the Minister, Honorable Minister of Health and Wellness. It concerns the construction site of the new Flak Hospital. I would be very grateful to him if he could request, in fact, instruct, not request, the contractor to see to it that all the vehicles coming out of the site, they wash their tires, otherwise the way they are doing, it rendering the main road very muddy, and it's causing inconvenience to all the drivers and vehicle users. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I will convey the message to the PIU, that is the Project Implementation Unit of the Ministry, so that's needful to be done.
Members, I suspend the sitting for today.